Welcome in. This is a brand new Friday Scramble, June 10th, 2022. I'm Rick Gehman. That right there is Andy Lack. Andy, good morning.
Good morning, Rick. How are you?
I'm good, man. It's been a week, It's been like a very busy, interesting week, which I was not necessarily expecting for RBC Canadian.
I got to say, I think it's probably the biggest golf news week. I mean, Tiger's accident. I'm trying to think of a one. Is there anything that we could, in terms of its long-term implications, I can't think of anything more meaningful than this for the sport that we cover.
And really not like even Tiger's accident, like that's off the course, right? This is actually the game of golf, the product that will likely be impacted long-term. I mean, it something like this only happens few times in sports, right? Where either leagues merge or leagues split. And that's kind of what it feels like we're in right now. So this is why it's a big news story, not just in golf, but in sport. And then also the political side of it makes it like a worldwide story.
Yeah. You know that it has kind of permeated just from a golf story to a real life. This is world news story, right? When I have all of my non-golf friends asking me about it too. And I think this is I think it's like the first time since the Tiger accident that I'm getting all of these non-golf friends text asking me what's going on. So, yeah, I'm sure we'll dive into it a little bit more today as well.
Yeah. I mean, let's and what I think is so interesting is we've been talking about this for a year, but we live in this little bubble. And I think yesterday was the first time that a lot of my friends realized something else was going on. It was like Phil Mickelson's playing golf, Dustin Johnson's playing golf, but not on the PGA Tour. Like, what am I looking at? And I think yesterday was the first time that occurred to a large percentage of casual golf watchers.
Do you think that any casual golf watchers actually sought out watching LIV? Because that's what I'm still trying to figure out in terms of who is watching this. I know you and I are obviously going to watch it because it's part of our job, and B, the curiosity angle, but I have no way to put, like, I haven't looked at even viewers. Do you think that it was successful for them in terms of the amount of viewers? I mean, and stuff like that.
I don't know. I think that this is not what they want to be doing forever, right? Getting 60 to 100,000 views on YouTube, which, listen, right. I'm all for YouTube. I obviously love YouTube. More people watch YouTube than probably watch television at this point. Like it's a massive platform. I'm not against being on YouTube, but I think that their goal is to eventually sign a TV contract, have this blasted out to a much larger audience. I saw that the 100,000 viewers is equivalent to I think somebody said it was Rangers Lightning Game 4 replay at 4 a.m. Eastern on Wednesday night. Like, that's the equivalent, right? So that's not what LIV wants. They want to be blasted out to a larger audience.
Right. Listen, I mean, I think for me, I'm a little bummed that this is happening now, right? Because first of all, I think St. George's is a really awesome golf course. And I wish that this golf course and this tournament, it's these national opens are a really, really big deal for these countries. I wish that some of the shine wasn't taken off of that. And to be honest with you, Rick, the thing that I know I'm in the minority here. The thing that I've been watching and the thing that I've been most excited for is the Curtis Cup, because that's at Marion. So I've been watching the Curtis Cup all morning. Because to me, Marion's a top 5 golf course in the world. And so if Marion's on TV, sorry guys, I'm going to want to watch Marion over the Centurion Club. So, you have maybe one of the most exciting events in the world in women's golf. And in my opinion, St. George's is like a top 100 golf course in the world as well. So for me, like that's what I am going to tune into personally. But I'm a little bummed that those two events are, a little bit less shine is on them.
Yeah, and that was Kyle and I talked about it. I think it was maybe, I don't know, maybe Wednesday, where something like, if we end up moving forward with kind of split golf, right, where there's a PGA Tour product and a LIV golf product, how would we cover it? And Kyle was like, yeah, there is also other golf, right? Like there's a lot of amateur golf out there. There's women's golf. There's a lot of other golf going on. And he kind of made this kind of compelling case to just follow what he enjoys. And sometimes it might be LIV, and sometimes it might be the PGA, and sometimes it might be the Curtis Cup, and sometimes it might be the Walker Cup, and sometimes it might be whatever else, right? But like there is still a lot of golf being played in the world on world-class golf courses.
100%, right? And maybe this makes the major championships, if this is even possible, feel even more meaningful, right? Because, they already feel like obviously it's a totally different vibe that week. But if the PGA Tour fields keep getting weaker and the LIV fields are kind of maybe front loaded at the top, right, where you get a couple big names at the top, but still a lot of, Asian Tour players that aren't many people are familiar with, maybe that, brings even more shine and specialness onto the major championships. And, it's crazy to think about. I'm so excited for Brookline next week,
Yeah.
Rick. I started diving in probably yesterday. And I think the story is going to be like, I think Monday through Wednesday with the press conferences might be more what people are looking forward to than the actual golf and the golf course, which is a bummer, but also just the world that we live in right now.
Yeah. And I think eventually the fact that we're at the US Open and we're at Brookline will take over. What did you actually think of the product of the LIV product?
I liked the leaderboard on the side. I thought the leaderboard was, I thought that was a nice touch. I liked how they had that. I wouldn't be opposed. Yeah. I wouldn't be opposed to seeing that on PGA Tour coverage, something like that, where it kind of slides down and you get to see, because, people like you and I, we're not just concerned about who's leading the tournament, right? A lot of the time we're sweating matchups and DraftKings lineups as well. So I like the fact that you had this slid down leaderboard. In terms of the product, I don't think Centurion's an interesting golf course. So I struggled with that a lot. And I struggled with figuring out what the stakes were too, right? Like I was watching great golfers play golf, but I didn't really I couldn't really figure out if any of them cared, right? Like you can almost tell. I'll give you a good example of this. I have PGA Tour Live on in the background, and Sahith Theegala made a 20-footer to make the cut on the number, which I cared about because I was playing Sahith Theegala and I'm a Sahith Theegala fan. Like he gave out a giant fist pump and it was like, oh, wow, I understand the meaning there. That was a big deal for a rookie like Sahith who's grinding, and you could just tell that meant something to him that he made the cut. I couldn't tell what the meaning was for all of the golf shots. All these, even if these guys shoot an 85, they're still making a ton of money. So that what I was kind of struggling with was understanding the stakes of what I was watching, if that made sense.
That's very fair. I think it's really fair. So to loop back to the leaderboard, this leaderboard that stays up on the side the entire time, that to me is the best thing they got. You absolutely nailed it. That to be able to see more than 5 guys, to be able to see how many shots back they are from a top 10 or from a top 20, or when a golfer who's further down the board appears, they kind of they pivot this and it slides up a little bit, and then you can see the golfers around him. Amazing, and it stays up at all times. Love it. Love everything about it. The shotgun start, is interesting. So I want to dive into this a little bit more because I think there is the goal. Okay, I want to be very clear about this. So give me a second here. I do not think that professional golf has a pace of play issue. I've never thought that. One, they're professionals and this is what they do for a living. I don't give a shit how long it takes them to do it. Right. And they're playing for a lot of money. I think golf, recreational amateur golf, has a pace of play issue. I do not think professional golf has a pace of play issue. However, from a viewership standpoint, from a product standpoint, a round of golf on the PGA Tour takes too long. Like the window of time that golfers are on the course takes too long. It's like, what, 10 or 11 hours from start to finish or something like that in some cases, maybe 9 hours.
Yeah.
Which poses a lot of problems, Andy. When it takes 9 hours, with how expensive broadcasting is, with how expensive all of this stuff is, it's why we don't see every shot. And it's why we don't see every single player, is because it's too much time. So when you look at the PGA Tour and you realize when they start on 1 and 10 or 1 and 9 this week, which is kind of weird, for the first 2 hours, there are holes that are not being used. If you go out at 6:30 a.m. and stand on number 8, you will not see a golfer for 2 hours, which is just like a bad use of resources and a bad use of time. So the shotgun start, which has its flaws, allows these rounds to be completed in a smaller window of time, which I would hope would allow for advancements in showing more golf, investing the time and energy and resources that you would have put into showing 9 hours into new and other things. I think having the golfers on the golf course for a shorter period of time, or like the window being smaller, I think could potentially solve a lot of the problems that people have with the broadcast.
Okay. All of this is fair. I can't do it. I don't like it. And it's because I am a pure, it comes down to the golf courses for me, right? Like you're not supposed to start.
Yeah. You want to play them in the order that the designer like intended you to.
Yes. Sorry. Yeah. I'm sorry. But listen to any great artist, musician talk about the construction of an album. The construction of an album is supposed to be listened to in order for a reason. You're not supposed to start playing Augusta on 16. That's not the way the course was intended to be played. A round of golf is a journey from start to finish, and it was routed in a specific way for a reason. At Centurion, it doesn't matter because all the holes are the same anyway. But Rick, I would pull my hair out if the PGA Tour did this at Riviera or a major championship, because that's not the way these golf courses were intended to be played. And I saw Eli brought up something in the chat that I agree with too. I like being able to watch golf all day. I like that it's really long. I also understand that I'm in the minority of that. But for me, it is a simple, this is destroying the idea of routing and what designers are so brilliant at. And that's hard for me to get past.
I also like watching golf all day. I also like waking up at 6 a.m. and having golf to watch. And at, whatever time, like I like that too, but I think growing the game is, I think listen, there's no other sport in the world in which you just like see the final 25% of, maybe.
Right. Well, ESPN Plus, don't you think ESPN Plus has helped with that?
But it's behind a paywall. It's a subscription service. Listen, I've always said, and before PGA Tour went to PGA Tour Live went to ESPN Plus, I would have paid like quadruple what they were not charging enough for PGA Tour Live, because the people who want that would pay a lot more for it. And yes, but like, okay, so I can see 12 to 20 golfers, most of their shots. and then I've got to kind of flip around and do all this stuff. I don't know. I just think it's not about us. I think it's about the casual fan.
100%. 100%. We obviously need to acknowledge that we're in the minority with this. That should be the first things out of our mouth. Let me ask you this, and then we'll move on, because I know we've got a lot to get to. If the USGA came out, this is a hypothetical situation, but if the USGA came out tomorrow and said, you know what, this makes some sense, we're going to do this, and the US Open for all 4 rounds was a shotgun start and a much, much tighter TV schedule, would you be for that?
See, so this is where I stop. I don't trust the corporations to get this right, because if, let's say, we could condense this to 5 hours a day and all of the golf was played in 5 hours a day, in my utopia, that would mean we would see a ton of shots and we would be able to track the players that we want, and we would have cameras on, not just sitting there. I mean, if you go to a PGA Tour event on a Thursday and Friday morning, there are cameras set up and no one manning them. They are turned off at greens and tees. That's insanity. If we had cameras at every green, cameras at every tee, the handhelds in the fairway, whatever, if it created this, like my utopia says, we now take advantage of these small windows and we show a lot of shots. I am not also that optimistic that corporations would look at that and say, wow, we can really deliver a much better product. They might just say, oh, well, now we can sell ads with more leverage because we're going to have less inventory to sell. You know what I mean? Like, so
yeah.
if it guaranteed that we got my utopia that I'm looking for, I would not care if someone at the US Open started on the 130-yard 12th hole flip wedge down the hill. I wouldn't care.
Yeah, you know, it brings in this weird thing into play where I think players would, I don't know if they would complain, actually. Yeah, they definitely
but they're going to complain about it now. They complain about everything.
Right. No, what it reminded me of was, do you remember when the players had that big weather delay with the crazy winds? And I remember Brooks, Xander, and Scheffler group had to play their first hole in 45-mile-per-hour wind 17 at Sawgrass, and they all made like 6s.
Yeah. So I mean, it's bizarre, but yeah, I think we're definitely in a moment. I mean, so now officially, so LIV Golf released the press release this morning. Bryson's going. We'll be there for Portland, which, you know, had been rumored for the last couple of days.
As you called, by the way.
Thank you much. Yes. So, and then Patrick Reed, which I don't think has been officially announced yet, but that was just a matter of time. Everybody's been very good about the reporting on this and has been genuinely very accurate. And then Pat Perez as well is supposedly going for $10 million. So I think there's still going to be these defectors, right? They're still going to be for the rest of the year, especially as we get through major championship season and people see what it looks like. There's going to be more of these guys. I don't know if it's enough to make anybody care or watch or whatever, but there is going to be more.
From what I've heard, I don't know if this is officially reported yet too, but I'm pretty sure Varner is a done deal. And I've also heard Wolf Rick is going.
Also,
did you hear about that one?
So I mean, that had kind of been like Bubba's the other one there too, where it's like these guys that played multiple times in like the Saudi International. Yeah, the Varner stuff I've heard. The Wolf thing I've heard, but not as much recently. And that one's kind of interesting because he's so young, Andy, but he's also what does Matthew Wolff describe the state of his game as?
Yeah, that's do you think Wolf is, gosh, Rick, we were talking about this guy, Morikawa, Hovland, Wolf, who has a better career, was a legitimate debate. And, I remember when he was in the final group at Wingfoot with Bryson, like if you did a Twitter poll, I would say that a lot of people would have said Wolf is the one that ends up with the highest career. I am a little surprised about that one because Wolf to me feels like the first, he feels like the first young player that has shown that he can compete and win on the PGA Tour and compete in major championships that is going. Gooch is 30, right? Wolf is 23, right? So that is the first one where it's like, okay, now you're tapping into the future stars of the PGA Tour. And you could say, Wolf isn't going to be a star, but
I could see Wolf going because if you're Matthew Wolf, I think two things could get you there. One, you're really not optimistic about the state of your game, and you're like, I'm just going to take the payday. That's one route. The other route is, and he's been kind of open about, kind of some of the mental struggles that he's had since joining the PGA Tour. The guy just might want to change his scenery, and he just might need something different. And he's looking at this going, holy crap. You're going to pay Pat Perez $10 million. Well, I bet you I can get a lot more than that. And also, this will be a fresh start for me. Like, I could also see that path for him.
Right. And David Perez well said in the chat is, maybe he has no confidence in his game right now. So if you're guaranteeing, it's the same reason why like NBA players, how they negotiate contracts in the NBA, like you have to maximize your window in terms of getting paid, right? And if Wolf has the ability, if he doesn't have a lot of confidence in his game right now, but he has the ability to make a huge payday now, when how much money has Wolf made on the PGA Tour in the last 16 months, right? It's like what is he in the FedEx Cup outside of the top 150? Probably, I would imagine, outside of the top 100 at least. So it's not like he's making any money on the PGA Tour right now. He's withdrawing from events. So, I understand, of course, why he's doing this as well. It's a bit of a bummer because I still kind of had high hopes for him. I wasn't really ready to stick a fork in his career just yet, despite the struggles over the last year.
Yeah, since the calendar year, he's basically made no money. He's made 4 cuts. 3 of them are in this. Oh, actually, that's not even a made cut. That was a T60 at the match play. He's made basically no money since the turn of the calendar year.
I remember watching that final group at Winged Foot, and I think Bryson ended up winning that US Open by 6 strokes, and Wolf was one of only 2 or 3 players that finished the entire tournament under par. I mean, seriously, it was one of the more impressive golfing performances I've seen in a while. Kind of that US Open kind of got lost to history because it was during COVID and football season. If you told me right now after Wingfoot that final group of Bryson and Wolf may never play on the PGA Tour again, it's just wild to think about.
Indeed. I lost track of time. Some of these props from PrizePicks start in like 5 minutes. So get your computer fingers ready. The code is Rick. The link is in the description. We've got props to talk about. We'll do it in like 30 seconds.
Andy Lack is not only the co-host of The Scramble, but also produces his own show, the Inside Golf Podcast. It's available twice a week, focusing on course breakdowns, DFS, and betting strategies for every PGA Tour event. Admittedly, I was drawn to Andy for his data-driven approach, which you'll find on his Sunday shows as he breaks down the field. But I'm even more impressed by his passion for course architecture, which offers a different perspective of our great game. Mix those together with insightful and humorous guests who don't take themselves too seriously, and you've got a recipe for a great podcast. Follow Inside Golf Pod on Twitter and download Inside Golf wherever you download podcasts.
Okay, Andy, here's the board over at PrizePicks. We have a little bit more time depending on what you're looking for here. So to put this into perspective, average greens in regulation yesterday, 10.26. Shane Lowry hit 15 of them. His line for today is 12. That starts in 51 minutes if you're interested in taking the over there. But the scoring average, let me get the updated scoring average. Yesterday played pretty hard, Andy. It was like a stroke and a half or a little bit more over par, which is fun. And right now it's 1.2 over par. So it's not easy out there.
No, it's not, which is what we predicted, right? Which is what we talked about. I know this course is a little bit shorter on the scorecard, but it's super narrow and the rough is up. So this is going to provide, a legitimately strong defense. Scoring props felt a little bit low, right? To me,
Yeah.
just a little bit. I know these guys are some of the best players in the field, but I would still imagine that as the course firms up a little bit in the afternoon, that the afternoon wave will play a little bit harder.
Yes, I agree. And I want to get your thoughts on this because I've been messing around with the showdown cheat sheet on RickRunGood.com. So what I added in is this tab here called expectation, which essentially is comparing every golfer to their 100-round baseline. So like Rory McIlroy gained like 3.5 strokes putting yesterday, which is over 3 strokes better than his expectation. So he gained nearly 4 strokes more than his 100-round baseline yesterday, and almost all of it came via the putter. Now, I love Rory, and he's great, but like that is the formula for regression. Like that is it.
So you're telling me I shouldn't feel good about my Lee Hodges 300-1 ticket?
Well, hey, if he's striping it, not all of those gains are with the putter, but just a lot of them are.
Is that a new tool, Rick? That's awesome.
Yeah, so this is, I basically just consolidated it. So this was kind of on the showdown cheat sheet. I just made it easier to like read. And we can just look at round one. And I just made it like easier to read and flip through at the top. So this is just a kind of a new format.
Okay, that's cool. I like that a lot. I think it's very useful also because I think the mistake that most people make is they look at in-tournament stats and they think, oh, this guy is going to improve in this category, but they're not they're comparing it to their idea of what regression is, but they're not comparing it to regression to somebody's actual long-term baseline. So I think that's an incredibly useful tool. I like that a lot. I'm going to dive into that a little bit more tonight.
Yeah, like for example, Cam Smith in round one lost 4.2 strokes putting to his baseline. Like that's just absurd. Like, and I don't know what he was, but he clawed it back to even. So that he was like
100%.
The ultimate,
he's like one over. Yeah.
Yeah. It was like the ultimate bounce back candidate today because it was unlikely that was going to happen again.
Yeah. Right. So, who were some of the biggest, I mean, Rory shot 4 under. So you have him at 68.
Mm-hmm.
I would probably take overs, Rick. I mean, honestly, I would probably lean towards Fitzpatrick. I think he's going to win. I mean, Fitzpatrick's playing great right now, so I'm not sure if I would touch that one. Maybe JT, I guess. But these just feel a little bit low. If I was going anywhere, it'd be over.
I would so Rory and Chris Kirk are the two. Now Chris Kirk starts in 4 minutes, so you should probably get on this very, very quickly. That's my bad here. But those two were the two that stood out to me. Kirk he putted well over his baseline yesterday. I think it's getting harder. This would still be asking him to gain like 2.5 shots on the field, something like that. So it's that's a big ask. I do think these are too low. Let me see. They don't have fairways. They have greens in regulation, which the only one I jumped into here is Lowry over 12 is one that I liked. He's
hitting his irons great. Yeah.
And he's hitting a ton of fairways, which is just like awesome. So he's giving himself a bunch of cracks at these.
Right. Yeah. I mean, they don't have they didn't give us any hole by hole ones for this one either.
No, I'm hoping we get like a huge slate for the US Open, which I imagine, right? Bunch of players, bunch of interesting stuff, bunch of like, hey, what score is he going to make on hole, whatever. Like that's the stuff we need.
Right. Which we got for the PGA and the Masters, if I remember correctly. They tend to beef it up and give us more to work with for these majors.
The code is Rick. There's a link in the description. You can get your instant deposit match up to $100. You can fire away and get yourself prepared for what is likely to be a very, very large slate next week. Okay, Andy, I want to talk a little bit about US Open because it's basically here. We'll hit that after a quick word.
I've recently started using Juice Reel as a way to track all my bets in real time. Since I can sync the app to all my sports books, I don't miss any wager, and I've learned a ton more about my betting habits. There are built-in line shopping features, so I know that I'm always getting the best lines available, and once the game starts, I can see the value of my bets fluctuate in real time with the scoring so that I always have an understanding of my expected value. The performance analytics have made me much more knowledgeable about the bets that I have the most success at, hint, top 10s, and there's no going back for me. Download the Juice Reel app with the link in the description.
Okay, Andy, it's we can basically declare this U.S. Open week because I think that's what I want to do. Brookline's going to be awesome, dude. Brookline is just historic. I cannot wait to get there. I can't wait to see it. I just can't wait. I'm at like an I was telling Armina last night or the night before, I've probably never been so excited for a golf tournament.
I'm excited for you, man. I think you're in for a treat. It's a really tight property. It's a really claustrophobic property. So if I had to make a guess, they're not going to be able to hold as many fans. I don't think they were selling as many tickets. It's not like a Torrey Pines, Rick, which we've been to together, where it's this giant property. It's really congested. Now, I will say, I think parking and transportation to the course might be a little bit of a nightmare from what I've heard. But when you get on the actual course, I think you'll have really good access. And it's a really interesting kind of rugged piece of property with a lot of interesting topography and rolling terrain. And these big rock outcroppings and chocolate drop mounds. And I think you're going to really, really enjoy it. The thing I love the most about the country club is, a lot of these old school golf courses, and the country club is steeped in tradition. We're talking 1880s founding member of the USGA, but a lot of these courses get these renovations and they make an old golf course look new. And the country club looks old, but it's like it's like a beautiful old, like you feel like you're transported back to the 1880s. It's really, really cool aesthetically.
The history, if you go read up on the history, it's so phenomenal. JG says, take the T or subway to Brookline. Very easy. Our Airbnb is like a mile and a half from the course. I'll just run there if I have to. So I think I'll be okay. But I know the rest of the media is staying like downtown, which a lot of these major championships, and this is the same at Kiowa. It's the same at a lot of places. Like the infrastructure to get all these people in and out is not great.
No, it's generally not. And that's why, in terms of hosting golf tournaments, there's so much more than, is this a good golf course that is going to be a fun test for pros? And I am super guilty of always underestimating that, where I'm always like, why don't they just hold every major championship at National? It's my favorite golf course in the world.
My hottest take is that golf tournaments shouldn't be played with fans so that we can go anywhere that we want, right? Like the viewing, if we fixed, so football, in my opinion, is at the point where an NFL game, the viewing experience is better at home. It is. I've got an 80-inch TV. I got camera angles of everything. I've got instant replay. I'm not going to miss a beat. That is much better than being in the stadium. We are not there for golf yet, like by a million miles. But if we were to get to the point where the viewing experience was good at home, they shouldn't even let fans in so that we could go to Bandon. During COVID, when they went to like Seminole for that like weird little event, or like even going to Summit Club, they could go to Summit Club because they didn't let any fans in. You know what I mean?
Right. Shadow Creek too, right? Shadow Creek's another one where it's tougher to
there's
the
nothing
infrastructure surrounding. Yeah.
You just can't do it. So like I think that's my hottest take is like no fans at golf tournaments.
That's pretty my hottest take is that the Open Championship should be played every year with hickories.
And you should have to wear suits and ties as well.
Yeah, 100%. No, the St. Andrews isn't supposed to be played with carbon woods. But so let me ask you, when do you get there and what days are you going?
Yeah, so it is a quick trip for me. So a lot of the media gets there usually like, Monday, Tuesday, or Wednesday. We are flying a red eye in Wednesday night so that we can continue to do all the normal stuff like for the normal week that all the other obligations that I have going on. And then we'll land like early Thursday morning. I'll go straight to the golf course. And then we've got Armina's on vacation. She's got a bunch of friends in Boston. So I'll just be at Brookline basically all day. And then we're not leaving. We did extend it. So we're not coming back until like the following Wednesday. So we'll have time to spend in Boston after the tournament.
Okay. So then you'll kind of spill your Travelers Week stuff in the next week.
I'll do some stuff from a hotel and
yeah. But you're not doing, so you're getting there basically when the tournament starts. Okay.
Correct. Yeah.
Who are you most excited? Who are you most excited for? Like you get dropped onto that golf course on Thursday morning. Who's the first guy you're looking to catch up with?
I'll go find Victor somewhere. That would be that's probably number that and Spieth.
Okay.
I want to witness the Spieth experience at Brookline.
By the way, I wanted to ask you this too, because I think one of the things that is missing for us in terms of LIV is I wish they had strokes gained. But like, how do we evaluate the state of DJ or Phil's game heading into Brookline? Like, I know they have the traditional stats, but like if you shoot 6 under at Centurion and like finish T3, like what does that mean? Does that mean you're in good form, or like that's kind of what I'm struggling with?
It's a great question that I don't have the answer to. I mean, I guess we could try to assign some level of strength of field, but like there's a lot more variables, and some of these guys are really going to skew the strength of field number. It's just, I don't know. The little bit, I haven't watched anything today. The little bit that I saw from DJ looked not great. The stuff I saw from Phil was okay.
Yeah.
But it's really hard to tell how those guys will be. And especially if this continues, right? Like what if they play, because by the time we get to the Masters, some of these guys are going to play like 6 straight LIV golf events and maybe somewhere else in the world in that like 8-month period that we have off between major championships. And we're going to have no idea on how to assess their game.
Yeah. Like this was the other thing with some of the younger amateurs that they're getting to. Like they have they have Pyatt who won at Oakmont, and they have Ogletree, who's not good. Like Ogletree,
he shot an 82. He shot an 82 yesterday.
The last couple winners of the USAM aren't that great players. I actually think Pyatt's okay, but I don't think Ogletree is very good. But how do we know if these guys are good? Right? That's the question that I keep having. I was talking about this too, right? Like I'm nerdy and I keep a list of, I keep a list of like the greatest careers and players of all time, kind of like the pyramid that Bill Simmons does in basketball. And like if DJ wins this event, does he get moved up at all? Does it mean anything? And that's the biggest issue that I'm struggling with LIV with, is that we have no context with any of this stuff.
It's also 54 holes too.
Yeah, good point.
Which is like you're also gonna get some, I feel like, built-in randomness, because just in general, the fewer holes you play, the more random golf is. If they played 1-hole tournaments, you'd get some crazy winners. 54 holes a little bit better, but it's not 72. So yeah, man, I don't know. And I think we're probably gonna have to figure it out, because it's not going away.
So back to Brookline real quick. Who is like have you made any bets yet?
2 weeks ago I bet Patrick Reed and I bet Daniel Berger.
Okay. I'm with you on Reed. I'm feeling worse about it. I'll be honest. I got 120, which is a great number. I don't know. I mean,
I don't feel. I was kind of hoping he was going to play this week, right? Just like give me small greens this week. Let's all that stuff. Let's see how it works. But dude, you know what would be nuts? Like Reed is also a villain who Could you imagine if he wins? Like, could you imagine if a live golf guy wins the US Open?
Yeah. Did you see they boosted DJ to 40
No,
at $1?
no.
Yeah. By the way, they boosted Colin to 33, by the way.
Ooh.
Yeah, that's going to be interesting. Do you think they're going to, we hear one of the most overblown narratives that we're going to hear over the next 5-6 days is, oh, the Boston fans, they're going to be so rowdy. I'm curious. I don't know what the reception is going to be for the LIV guys. I'm pretty sure that, this is going to get covered. Like, there's going to be New York Times and Washington Post reporters at Phil's press conference, right? This transcends golf a little bit too, but yeah, I don't know. Would you bet Dustin Johnson at 40-1 to win the US Open?
No. I mean, I thought you were very astute in being like, yeah, like he hasn't been that good for a while, right? Like if he played the RBC Canadian this week, would you have thought he had a really good chance to win? I don't know. I mean, he hasn't really shown much, and even if he routs Henny Duplessis and Charles Schwartzel, I'm not prepared to crown him.
Right. Yeah. I think some of the people in the chat are saying crowd will be all over the LIV guys. You don't think so?
No, I don't think it is. I don't think people know as much as we know, right?
Yeah. I think the media will be all over the LIV guys. They'll be asking them tougher questions, right?
Yes. I don't think Phil, I don't know, because Phil has been the downfall from Phil Mickelson of just hero at the PGA Championship, could have done anything he wanted, basically except this, and he's done it. That I'll be interested to see, but I don't think it's going to change towards Patrick Reed or Bryson for that matter. I mean, people chirp Bryson all the time.
Most people didn't like these guys to begin with, right? Most of these guys were villains to begin with. So do we have a villain problem now on the PGA Tour? Because I feel like LIV took all of our great villains.
Who's our villain that's left? I don't even know. Let's look at the world rankings.
Billy Horschel.
Yeah, that's a good one. He's our heel. You know what I could see? This would be kind of cool. If this was WWE and they just lost all their villains to AEW or whatever, they would heel turn John Rahm.
I was going to say that Rahm's a good candidate because he acts like a baby on the course. A lot of people love foreign villains, right? Like international villains, like all the Bond villains are like these international guys, but it can't be Victor because Victor's the most likable, even though like the name Victor Hovland from Norway sounds like a Bond villain.
Victor Hovland.
He's the most likable guy on the PGA Tour, but people love John Rahm. People really like John Rahm. He has like an active fan base. So I don't know if he would be able to get there. I think people are starting to see the life a little bit. I mean, he almost decapitated a stray volunteer with a club at Muirfield last week, but people like Rahm. So I don't know if he would get there.
He's and he's good enough, right? Like the thing with Ian Poulter is like Ian Poulter was never like, okay, in the Ryder Cups, that's fine, but Rahm is good enough to be a villain.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
You need to be frustratingly good. You need to be like annoyingly good. So I guess Rahm's the best candidate. Brooks has a little villain in him, but Brooks might be gone too.
Yeah. The chat thinks Hatton is the villain, which I feel like Hatton doesn't I don't know. Does he play enough? Yeah.
Yeah. Hatton. Oh my God. Are we ever going to design a good enough golf course for Hatton standards? Rick?
There's no course in the world that is up to Terrell Hatton's lofty standards. Yeah. If this was scripted, if this was the WWE, it would be Rob. That's what I would do if I was Vince McMahon.
Cantlay's not bad. People don't like Cantlay, but if you listen to, Cantlay is like a really well-spoken and articulate guy. I get the slow play, the feet movement thing that really annoys people. I don't find him like, I find him boring. I don't find him unlikable.
Right. He's not villainous. He's also not going to say something that frustrates his peers. He's just like, you need someone who calls somebody out for slow play, or, oh yeah, I had to wait for 9 hours because this guy was, taking 10 rulings and asking for second opinions and throwing clubs. It's like, that's what you need.
Berger, maybe police officer Berger with his rule stuff. Maybe, I guess we're reaching at this point.
Yeah. All right, Andy. Pleasure as always, my friend. We will be back on Tuesday, and we will do it all again for the United States Open. That feels good to say.
That feels incredible to say. If I don't, actually, never mind. I was going to say safe travels, but we'll talk. We'll talk before that. Yeah.
Okay. Follow Andy on Twitter at ADP Lack Sports. You can follow me at RickRunGood. PrizePicks promo code is Rick. There's a link in the description. Go get your picks in. They're also doing I forgot to mention this. They've got basically a free square for tonight for the NBA Finals, where if Jason Tatum scores 1 point, you win. So that seems not a big basketball guy, Andy. Seems pretty likely Jason Tatum scores 1 solitary point this evening.
That feels like a safe bet to me. Yeah, I would say.
What?
I thought in my mind, I was like, is the NBA Finals on again tonight? I didn't realize that. Okay. Yeah. All right, cool. That's awesome. No, I'm excited for that. Okay.
Something to watch. Okay. Producer Mina does all the hard work behind the scenes. Thank you very much. We will see you next time. Good luck.